First of all, my apologies for not recording this meet from the start, but I'm going to pick up where I remembered to turn on the meet. My apologies. So I'm going to go back to presenting mode here. All right. You're going to copy and paste your code into this slide deck. And the first method we made was just a boring method. This method call returned nothing to the user. So it was void. It took action, but it didn't redo any calculations that it returned the results back to the user. So there are 4 types of methods. One of them is you take in nothing and you return nothing. Some of you are like that in especially junior high in your relationships. You know, you don't take in anything, you don't return anything, right? Then the other thing that we can have is some high school relationships. These are classic high school relationships where you give back nothing, but you take a lot. Not to rip on any types of people, but there are people who don't return anything, yet they take in things. So let me go over how that would look. Notice this, this method that returns no values. It's still a void method returning nothing. It takes in a string. So in the main method, which is where the code begins executing, that's like saying when green flag is clicked for you scratch and snap coders. So when green flag is clicked, that's public static void main string args, or main string args, yeah. Then what happens is the string name is loaded into the memory, and it's got Mr. Rhodey in there. I make a method called greetings that takes in a name, and whatever the name that's brought in, it's going to output hello and that name, whatever name you take in. So if I change that mode to that name to Nikolai in string name, it would return hello Nikolai, hola Nikolai. If I changed it to Connor, same thing. It's more flexible than the other one, but it still is a method that takes in a parameter but doesn't return anything. I'm going to ask you to write a parameter that takes in a string. Notice you have to declare the type of string, and remember scope. A variable lives from curly brace it's declared in to the end of the curly brace it was declared in, and then it gets collected by that garbage collector. So the string name is killed. It's dead as soon as it leaves those curly braces. And by doing a method call and going to this new method, it is actually dead. It is not in memory. It's gone. And so I could not even say name and have name appear there, if that makes any sense at all. So that's where we pass the value. We have to pass the value because the variables will die in transit, so to speak. This code doesn't work. So if I were to say name like that, it would not work. Just as an FYI, just to let you know, it has, and the reason is it has fallen out of scope. So now, after that method, what I'm going to do, just so you know, is I'm going to teach the other 3 and then give you time to work on it. The next method is a method that returns something but doesn't take in anything. A method that returns a value even though it doesn't take in a parameter. So again, like some high school relationships. So I can have a string result get what happens in interesting, the method call. So notice how public static has changed from the keyword void to the keyword string. That's because in our method signature, we have to tell or declare what is going to be returned, what return type that method is expecting. So in this case, I'm returning a string. Notice I then write a string, nothing to see here. So this code is going to return nothing to see here when it's called. And that's how a method that returns works. Pretty darn cool. Think of this like a reporter block. If you've used programming languages like MIT App Inventor, we call them reporting blocks. They were blocks that returned a value. We also called them getters. You may have, if you took MIT App Inventor, we talked about getters. Starting this year in APSP, they changed the mode, got rid of the export performance task, added setters, getters, and transversal through arrays, which is very good addition. So they added more content, but took out that explore performance task. I think it's a good move. Some people are really mad about it because it's more code and less of the other stuff, but I'm happy. This is a reporter block. So it's giving back information if you did one of the languages where we talked about reporter blocks before. Then we have the ultimate. These are the very functional methods and probably the most common. Methods that take in parameters and return a value. So I am going to ask you to do that average problem again. So notice the public static double. It is going to return a double value. It's going to the name of this method is called average, and it's got two ints, an int A and an int B. It starts with creating the result, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. It calculates the sum using casting, and then it calculates the result, and then it returns the result. Writing methods is going to guarantee 100% be on your CSA free question. You are going to be given the requirements to create a method. It's also going to be on your test that you're going to take next Monday and Tuesday, where you are going to be asked to write a method. Often you're given the method signature. So you're given that first line, public, static, double, average, int A, int B, for example, you would be given. And then you have to return the correct result. On the rubrics for the AP, every single rubric for a method includes returning the correct type of data. Even if you get the answer wrong, you can get a point for returning the correct data type, even if you don't return the correct data. What do I mean by that? What I mean is if you are asked in this problem, for example, to return a double, and you return a double, even if it has the wrong value, you get 1 point. Maybe it's worth 5 points on the rubric. And you get 1 point just because you returned the right data type. So a good habit to get into is to start by declaring a variable at the top of the method of the correct type. And I always call that result. So notice how I start double result at 0.0. And then the last line, I return result. So even if I don't get any points for solving the average problem, I would get points for returning the correct data type. Start using that, start getting in that habit so that you can get those points. Even on the exam you're going to be taking, or practice, well, not the assessment, I guess, next week, you're going to get points for just returning the right data type. It's a freebie, so to speak. All right. I'm going to ask you to go to your chat window. This is going to be tricky for me. So if you could launch your chat window. And I can't see the chat window, so I just need time to put it up in a separate window. So I have it open twice. Here we go. All right. So what I'm going to ask you to do is in the chat, type the data type that's going to be returned. So it might be something like double, string, int. I think those are all of them. So you're going to type into the chat window the data type returned. So let's look at number, or if it's nothing. Talk about giving away number one, right? Okay, so number one is public static void thing. What data type is going to be returned by signature one? Okay, everyone type nothing in your thing. Yeah, that one's a hard one. And then I'm going to count down 5. Oh, yeah, I didn't even need to count down. Everyone just did it. One is definitely nothing. Okay, you get it. All right. Next, number 2. Don't hit return, though. Type in the answer, but don't hit return yet. Let's waterfall it. Number 2, public static string thing, int A, that takes in int A and int B. What is going to be returned according to that method signature? Type it in. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, waterfall. Exactly happened what I thought would happen. So thank you. It takes in 2 ints. It returns a string. So the data type being returned is a string. Tricky, right? Because it takes in those 2 ints. It takes in int A and int B, and it uses int A and int B for whatever its purpose is to return a string called thing. So the data type being returned is a string. See how that's kind of a trick question? And I knew it would be. That's why I'm asking. I only ask tricky questions, right? Number 3, public static int thing string name. What type of data is being returned by number 3? In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nice. Talk about progress. Yes, it is returning an int. Even though it's taking in a string, it's returning an int. Let's look at number 4. Public static void thing, int A, string name. What is being returned in number 4? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, return. Nothing or void. That's absolutely right. Nothing's coming back. It's taking some action. For example, it might be doing a system out. It's taking action, but it's not returning anything. Last one, number 5. Public static student string name. Ooh, if anyone gets this right, I will be impressed. What data type is this one returning? If people get this right, I will be in awe. This is really hard. All right, what data type is number 5 returning? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Some people are actually getting this right. Oh my gosh. The answer is the data type student. When you create a class, that's now a data type. And I didn't say that at all. You won't be messing with that yet. That some people said student and got it right. A++ semicolon. Great job. I did not cover that. That was a mean question. But the correct answer was student. Wow. It's returning a student. But I didn't go over that. That was a mean one to ask. By the way, just a friendly review. The most common error that people make in programming with methods is the call me maybe error, which is you make the method, but you forget to call it. So you're like, why isn't my method working? Well, you forgot to call it. So I'm sure people will make that mistake. I've given you the sample code. Really, this is more a typing exercise than anything, but I do want you to try to type those methods in and get those results, put them in the slideshow. When you get all 4 of them done, please hit turn it in. And that's your kind of homework for today. I'm done with the lecture, but I want to wrap and allow you to exit the meeting to this classic blast from the past song, reminding you of don't forget to call your methods. Feel free to log off and work on your homework.
Tiny teenage mind.
I know, right? You just gotta add some moves and a little bit of, hey, I've slept and this is crazy, but here's my number, so call me baby. Go for it!
Oh, you like this?
Try to take me, but you never, so call me. There you go. You're a natural.
I'll also stick around if people have questions. That's fine too.